Okay, amazing. So you've made it. You've made it to the third and final day. I'm so like the chat has been epic. Like honestly, I'm so amazed with the action that everyone in here is taking, because that is what will make the difference, right? That is what will make the difference. The people who actually integrate and implement what we're learning here. What I'm telling you, if you just absorb it and don't do anything with it, it's not going to change anything for you. So actually then taking it into your real life is the game changer. And just the way that people have been showing up live has really been incredible, because it is a different frequency live. You know, it is. You can't get away from it. So I really give you all kudos for making that happen for you. So day 3, we are on the home stretch. And I'm going to take you behind the scenes of my Instagram account in a little bit. And we're just going to kind of go through some stuff. And I'm really just going to give it to you in like ABCs of a little bit of a strategy as well. Okay. I do not use a lot of strategy in my business, in my life, in general. I'm not a massive strategy person. I very much follow my intuition. I very much follow my energy. So when I do use strategy, you best believe it's important because otherwise I don't bother. So, okay, we are, okay, what I'm going to start with first, I was just looking at my notes, sir. What I'm going to start with first is talking about the changes that I had to make in my real life as well as the socials, okay? Because like we said over the last couple of days, it cannot be one and not the other, okay? You have to really be truly authentic. It has to be in every aspect of your life. It just has to be. And that can be really uncomfortable for some people, because, and it can work both ways, right? Some people might feel comfortable being authentic in their real life, but then they go online and it's like, you know, more people are maybe seeing you. And then other people can be who they want to be online because they're like, well, I don't know anyone. And then in real life, they're like, oh, you know, like I know these people. So it can work both ways. And there's no getting around it. You are going to have to figure that out, to dig deep and find that self-belief and that courage of who you want to be. Knowing that it will come with judgment. It will. I can't tell you otherwise. It will. But how much do you care about that? How much do you care about that? And how much do you care about your success and your future and your dreams that you desire? Because like we've said over the past 2 days, that has to be more important. That has to be more important, because anyone that is going to judge you in a negative way is not for you anyway. And that's something that we have to come to terms with. And it's something that keeps a lot of people stuck, because they don't want to release maybe friends, partners, family members. I'm not saying that will happen, right? But it can happen. And people don't want to release that. And so then what happens is they stay stuck on that frequency because they can't make space for the new. And we just have to trust that when we release anything that is no longer meant for us, we release with love always. And we know that we are making space for something even better to come in. And I have been absolute testament of that, which we will go into in a little bit. But when you make space, new, better things will come in, but you have to be willing to make that space in the first place. So the things that I had to do in my personal life were really taking this new energy that I had tapped into, right? And I had now started bringing into my social world, if you like, online, and being that same person in real life. Now, I don't claim to have a big circle in real life, okay? Like my network is very small in real life. I don't have massive circles of friends. I'm not in big communities. So I didn't have like a whole load of people that I had to kind of figure out how to navigate, right? So, you know, that just is what it is. For me, some of my biggest struggles were my family, particularly my mum and my eldest daughter. And I love them both to bits, but those two relationships trigger me quite a lot. We have quite a lot of generational stuff going on there. And it was really, really hard for me to maintain this new frequency that I had tapped into, this new 7-figure version of me that I was starting to embody, and still be that person around people who did not see me that way. They did not see that version of me. They did not believe that that was going to be a reality for me. They thought I was full of shit, right? Being quite honest. And so what happens is it can be really hard to navigate. It can just be really hard to navigate. And I had to take a step away from my mum. I still see her and I still speak to her, but I had to take a step back. I had to minimize the contact, right? Because I know that at some point we will catch up, as it were, and it will be okay. But at the moment, for this expansion that I am in, and it's always when you're in expansion, right? This is always the trickiest bit to navigate because it's so easy to get pulled back. It is so easy, especially in our real lives. It really, really is. And so for me, I knew that I was in the midst of a big quantum leap. And so I had to make that decision to just pull back a bit and to say, you know, mum, like if she would bring things up that I didn't want to talk about business or, you know, anything in general that is kind of like normally a dig area, I just don't want to talk about that and just change the subject. And it wasn't always easy. And I'm not going to pretend it is easy now. It's not the easiest of relationships, but I have purposely stepped back enough so that when I do see her, I'm able to maintain my energy. I'm able to maintain my new identity. I'm able to maintain my new self-belief that I have and not be dragged back by that old paradigm. My daughter was not so easy to get rid of in the nicest way possible. But again, I had to have conversations, right? Oh, BB. I had to have conversations of just saying, look, like these topics, they're just out of bounds now. I just can't, like at the moment, I just can't, because we have to protect ourselves if we want to truly fully step into this expansion. This is like I was talking about on day one of having one foot in both worlds, right? So we have to go all in. And again, this also ties into those boundaries, bringing them into your real life as well as online. Because otherwise, for all the want and will in the world, your old paradigm will pull you back. So you have to be aware. You have to be aware of that, because if you're not aware, you're not going to be able to stop it. So be aware first. Notice the relationships that pull you down, and you know them because you feel like shit when you're having those conversations generally, and when you're in that frequency, they don't feel high frequency, right? They drain us. They drain our energy. This is why when people say, oh, you know, this is such a high vibe in here, that is the frequency. That's what we're talking about. Just like if you go to a funeral, it's like, who died? It is that energy. It is the energy of a room. And so start thinking about who you have in your real life that is making you feel that pull, that is draining your energy, that is keeping you in your old identity when you're trying to step into the new identity, right? So that was a big major thing that I had to integrate into my real life alongside online. So I really, really cannot stress like strongly enough how important that is. Okay, so other things that I did in real life, these are not like massive things, okay? These are like small shifts that all make the compound effect. Okay. And that is essentially what building a new identity is, what building a new paradigm is. It is little minuscule actions, minuscule changes that all build up until suddenly you feel like a whole different person. So it is the little things, even things like changing my wardrobe, right? Like, honestly, might sound really like, really? Yeah, really. Really, because I look at some of the stuff that I was wearing before and I did not feel like seven-figure Claire in those clothes. I felt like I was still pretending. I was still trying to fit in. I was still trying to look a certain way, how I wanted people to perceive me, rather than how I wanted to look, right? And so we have to really think about what things make us feel like. I'm not saying change it for anyone else. This is not so that other people look at you differently. This is so that you look at you differently. Getting my nails done more often because I feel like a badass when they're done. Simple as that. Like, I really love it. I never used to do that. I never used to do that. And I know that the future version of me does do that. It's like, I now have this new perfume, right? It's like, it's completely floral. It's so cool. It's called Floral Street. There's no like alcohol or anything in it. And I now have this like on my desk. I have little ones like everywhere. I never used to wear perfume. I never used to wear perfume. And I'm like, do you know what? My future self freaking does smell good. And now when I spray these, I associate it with my future self. So I also have that extra sense that is tapped into that. So these are like amazing little tricks to help our subconscious learn that this is who we now are. I used to wear perfume like maybe once a year if I was going out for like something fancy, and it's like, now this is an everyday thing, because why the fuck not? Right? Why not? So it's like the little minuscule things that your future self does that you currently don't do. You need to start bringing those into your home life, into your reality now. One of the other things, there are a couple more little things I just want to touch on here. One of the most transformational things for me, again, sounds really small, right? Was not going on my phone as soon as I woke up. Like, and I mean, I told you guys, but I used to literally wake up. First thing I would do before I even took a breath, I swear, would be like grab my phone and look on Instagram. And it wasn't in a good way either. It was like, oh, what's happened today? Right? It was that losing the followers and that kind of stuff. And so now I purposely do not go on my phone at least 45 minutes. I try and make it an hour. It just depends how the school run timing's going. But like 45 minutes to an hour, because whatever endorphins we get in the first hour of when we wake up is what our brain searches for the rest of the day. So if you are getting your first hits from going on social media or checking out, whatever online, your brain is going to constantly be wanting that for the rest of the day. So it's actually really, really powerful to change that, and really easy when you allow yourself to make that decision, right? And for me, I'm one of these people, I can waver for ages until I make the final decision. It's like something in my brain just clicks and I'm like, I've made a decision. As soon as I say I have made a decision, that's it. There's no more umming and ahhing. There's no more dabbling. It's like commitment right now. And I'm just very decisive when I choose to be. But sometimes it can take me a while to get to that. Okay, now I'm making the decision. So that was a really, really transformational one for me. What else was there? Okay, and then the last thing that I'll touch on, just on the home stuff, is allowing myself permission to step away, right? like we said the other day, this does not have to be hustle and grind, because your creativity is not going to flow when you're in the hustle and the grind. So I gave myself permission to stop hustling and grinding. I gave myself permission to literally do whatever the fuck I want to do, because we have phones. We can be on Telegram when we're walking around a park. We can be writing an email when we're in the gym. You know, we can multitask. I can be in the sauna and get the best downloads ever. And I come out and I'm like on a roll making content, you know? So I gave myself permission to be able to actually start enjoying life. You know, like we said the other day, like that thing, actually living, you know? Because whilst we're striving for these dreams and these desires, we also don't want to forget that tomorrow is never a given. Yeah, so we do also want to be in the present. We always want to have one foot in the present and one foot in desire, so that we don't take where we are now for granted. Because where we are now, you a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago would have absolutely loved that. We have to give ourselves like that celebration, right, for the journey that we've already been on. Like, we've already got so far, and it's so easy to forget because we always want more, we want more, we want more, we want the next goal, the next thing, and it's like, hold on a minute. And this isn't saying that we're not still moving and we're not still taking action, but we can still be grounded and grateful and present with one foot in desire. That was a really big thing for me, because I've always been so driven and so ambitious and so goal-oriented that I was always in the future. Always in the future. Now was never enough. Never enough. Regardless of anything, regardless of the income, regardless of the holidays, the travel, anything. It was never enough, because I always had the next goal in sight. And whilst I do still have the next goal in sight, I also now am really grateful for what I have now, because I know that me 4 years ago, when I was stuck in that abusive relationship without a hope in the world, knowing where my life was going to go, would have been just amazed at what my life is now. And cry. But that's what happens, right? When we give ourselves that permission to realize how far we have come already, because we have come so far already. And if you've got this far, you're damn well not giving up now, right? We're just getting started. Okay, so let's dive in. I am going to screen share. Let me figure this out. Okay, so I haven't done this for a while, so bear with me. Right, so what I want is to move that. Okay, can you all see this? Yeah, okay. Right, so we are going to talk about my Instagram. Okay. Now I just need to move you guys though, because you're in the way. Right, now what I'm going to do, hopefully, is scroll right back to the beginning, which luckily it was only a few months ago, so it won't take too long. If I had thought about it, I could have done that before we went live, but there we go. And as you're looking at this, right, just notice the evolution that you're seeing anyway. So we're working backwards, but I sometimes look, even things that I make a week ago, right? I'm like, not sure if I'd make it like that now, you know? And that is evolution. That is part of the process. It's never going to be perfect forever. It's just about doing what feels good right now. So I don't think we're not too far. We're not too far. Yeah, this is near where the shift happened. Nearly there. Hopefully. Yeah, here we go. Can you start to see a little shift? So it's getting a bit darker. It's a bit blander, right? It's not quite as in your face. This is where I was just starting to tap into, yeah, look at this. So different, right? Okay, we're nearly at the beginning. Okay, yeah, elevate. There we go. There's the mastermind. Right, this is day one right here. That was a summit that I spoke on. So you can see from here, when I first started this new account, right, I was coming in with the new energy and I was like, okay, who do I want to be? Okay, who do I want to be in this space? And can you see straight away? I'm talking about 10K months. I'm talking about 6 figures here. Let's scroll up a little bit. 20K there. 6 figures. And then it stops a little bit. So in the beginning, I fell into that trap of feeling like I have to talk about the money. Have to talk about the money because everybody tells you that you need to talk about the tangibles. Everybody else is talking about the money. So I must talk about the money, right? So that is what I started with. Feeling like, okay, I'll just talk about multi 6 figures. That's my thing, right? I've been there, done that. I can talk about that. And it didn't feel great. It didn't feel great because I didn't really know why I was talking about that. I was like, well, I don't want to teach people how to make 6 figures. Like, yes, that's a byproduct, right? That's a byproduct, but that's not what I'm here to do. That's what the client is there to do, if that is what they desire. But for me, it was so much deeper than that. It was about tapping into that true essence of who they are and stop hiding that. And I started to realize, well, why am I hiding? Why am I doing what everyone else is doing? If I want to teach people how not to do that, this is exactly what I'm doing. So this is not going to work, right? This is not going to work. So let's scroll up a little bit. So back then, I used to post my podcast on this page as well. That was season 1. And this is a big shift that I'll talk about in a little bit with my podcast and in general, associations, collaborations, and positioning. So we'll go into that in a little bit. I was a bit of a floozy, let's say. Okay, so here was the first time that I made something that felt like me. I remember specifically using that red and I was like, oh, that's edgy. That's a bit out there. That's gonna kind of you know, flutter some eyelids kind of thing. I was like, people are gonna notice that. And I had real resistance to posting that post, not even because of what it says, but because of what it looked like, right? Because people will look at how it looks before they read what it says. They'll see it and they'll either read it or they won't, but they've decided before they've seen the words. So what you glance at first is what is going to capture people or not. So this was like the first essence of true Claire. And then what happened is I started tapping into the sensuality, the kind of lust, right? Like we were talking about, the kind of eroticism, the play, that kind of energy. And I quite liked it, but it still didn't feel truly like me. I wasn't using my imagery. I kind of liked the angle, but something was still missing, right? It just wasn't really who I am. So I played around with that for a little bit. Let's have a look. Yeah, here we go. I do like that one. I like the image. But yeah, so this is all, okay, playful, erotic, like sensual. I was trying to be polarizing for the sake of being polarizing, not because it was coming from a place of authenticity necessarily. It was like, okay, this is going to turn heads. right? That was the energy of this. How can I capture people? Not like, oh my God, this sounds really amazing. It was like, how can I capture people? So can you feel the difference in those two energies of, yeah, this is like amazing, and like, yeah, that's gonna turn some heads. It's a different energetic space. So that's where I was for that period. Are you irresistible? Okay, and then this one right here was, I would say, the first one that I created really from my new true embodiment. This was, it looks kind of like, you know, whatever. Let's see if we can have a look at it. So here it is. And the words were really true to me in that moment, because this is when I started swearing more in my content, right? And being me, being unapologetically me. Yeah, and I felt free. And that's what this was about. And that was a pitch for the Elevate Mastermind back then. So that was the first time that I really stepped into that energy of, I am going to say whatever the fuck I want to say from a place of really wanting to share this. Yeah, not from a place of this is going to trigger people or this is going to capture people. This was like a true heartfelt moment that lit me up so much that I had to create it right then. Now, I'm not going to talk about branding quite yet. I'm going to wait till we get nearer the top. So I was just starting to dabble with branding at this point. Okay. So this is like, I knew I wanted the blacks and the reds because that was what I kind of came into this new space with. I was like, this has always been my colors. Like, I really want to use them. But I was so scared because obviously everyone says, red, you can't use red. You know, it's like an angry color and people won't like it. And I'm like, why do you want to use red? It's like, it's my color. And so I went in and I was like, I'm using red. I don't give a fuck. So I knew that I wanted that, but I didn't really know much about how I was going to brand myself or anything like that in that space. So I then started dabbling with carousels quite a lot, and I got really good at them. I quite like these carousels. They're quite cool to look at. The content isn't too bad. I'm just reading it. I don't need that program. I already know all of that. I'm further than that. They can't help me. Been there too. This time last year, I was completely lost. Yeah. So my content, like the messaging, has been pretty good for this new account. It's more the graphics and the intent behind it, right? The energy that I was coming from when I made it. That's when the shift happened. So let's go up a little bit. So can you see, like, this is all pretty samey, right? It's like I was trying, but it was still near, you know? And I was really like proud of these as well. Like I was like, yeah, it's fucking great. But when you look at it as a whole, it's pretty samey. It's not jumping out at you. Okay, and then it kind of shifted. So from about here, I would say, here. Yeah, so these. And then I started really owning who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up. And I really started, you'll notice here now, I really started tapping into the future embodiment, right? Through poses, through powerful words, through the energetic space that I was giving in the imagery. It really shifted. Like if you look at that to that, can you see the shift? Can you see the transformation? It's so much more embodied. It's so much more like, this is where I really start kind of getting into my jam now with a brand. And I'm like, yeah, I freaking love this. I'm playing, I'm pushing the limits, right? When I make stuff, this one was a transformational one for me. Is that the carousel order? Yeah. I remember making this one. And when I made it, I knew that this was a pivotal moment. I was literally in the midst of the quantum leap when I made this, 31st of January. There we go. And I was just like, holy fuckamole, like something big is happening in my world. So I called it the metamorphosis. And even at that time, I remember thinking to myself, I need to create a masterclass on metamorphosis. I was like, this was a massive shift for me. And I remember like making these photos, right? Like I literally stood in this office with my camera on, like doing all these different poses and just being so lit up by what I was creating. And so what I would ask you with this is, can you do that? Can you make a fool of yourself in front of no one else, right? To create something that is so self-expressive from your heart. I ain't got any makeup on. But I was just like, this is fucking amazing, because everything that I was talking about in this post was so potent in that moment for me. It was in such real time that it literally just like flew out of me. I couldn't type it fast enough. It was just absolutely insane. Yeah. And that's how I felt when I finished that. I was just like, this is the start of something. And this really was where things shifted. This is when I started to see some engagement in my DMs. And this is also when I started to go live with people. Okay, so I'll talk about that in a moment when we just finish on here. Okay, so here we go. So you can see, right, I used the different angles. So I still do the kind of sensual and the flirty and the pushing the edge, right? Can't talk about climax on Instagram. Watch me. Like pushing the edge, the millionaire movement. This was future embodiment. This was the download that I had a year ago that I couldn't hold at the time. I tried to run with the message because I knew that it was meant for me. It was about empowering women everywhere to step into their wow factor, right? Being worthy of wealth, creating a movement of millionaires across the world. Like, come with me, let's do it together. And at the time, I couldn't hold that because, like we talked about in, I don't know, day 1 or day 2, with big movements comes big triggering. And I started having stones thrown. And I couldn't hold it. I couldn't hold it. But it came back. It came back like when I created that, maybe that day or the day before. And I was just like, that's a reel. Yeah. A reel, this one. And this was the moment where I said, I am stepping into my 7-figure year. I could feel such energetic change around me. I can't even put into words because it was a feeling, right? It was a feeling that I had, that I just knew this was my year of change. I absolutely felt it in my bones. And so I was like, I'm doing it. I'm claiming it. It's that decision, right? It's not a question anymore. This is a fucking decision. This shit is happening. And I am going to do everything that I can every single day to embody that version of me, because that is how you collapse the timeline. That is how you do it. So this right here is an example of future embodiment. Okay, so let's go up a bit. So at this time, again, my branding, we're getting there, but I'm not fully there yet. Okay, so there are things kind of slipping through the nets. I'm not fully in. Okay, and then let's go up a bit. Okay, here we go. So when I did my brand disruption masterclass, and again, another big shift for me, that was a really great shift. And it was just me embracing now who I wanted to be, like even more, even fucking more, pushing it even further. Like, who shows up like that with their boobs out, right? And it's like, it's so, some people will hate that. Some people will love that. I don't care, because I felt so empowered to do that. This is not saying you have to get your boobs out, right? If you want it, go for it. But for me, that was a power move. That is why I have that image, and I use it quite a lot, because it is me in my full power. And this is where I started playing with my clothes as well, right? So I started really thinking about, who is this version of Claire? And I've always been a bit edgy, right? A bit kind of like rebellious, a bit on the rocky side, if you like. So I knew I wanted to bring leather into it. I knew I wanted to bring my reds, obviously, and my blacks. And I just so happened to have the leather trousers that I think I stole from my daughter about 2 years ago and never wore, because I didn't have the guts to wear them. And the red jacket I got for when I did Lisa Nichols' speaking thing last year, and I had a red suit. And I was just like, yes, this is the brand. This is the brand. And so as we go for it, this photo shoot was a big change for me. Now, this photo shoot, I did myself. I did myself. I got a wardrobe in my bedroom. I got clothes in there. I found what clothes I wanted. I set my phone up. I probably spent about 3 hours just having fun, literally just playing around with like different poses. I had my music on, I was vibing. It was like the most fun I've had in ages. It was so great. And I just felt like such a badass. I cannot tell you. And those images are the images that I use even more than professional photo shoots that I've had. So, you know, you don't have to always invest in expensive things to be able to create, right? There are no excuses. So this is where the brand starts coming to life. These images I absolutely love. It was all about the power. It was all about the play as well, because play is a big part of my brand and me. So here is kind of where it really starts to shift. I start bringing more of the red in. I start playing with graphics a lot more. Okay, I am like increasing my skill set in graphics by this point. I am like loving it. I'm having so much fun, and it's starting to show, right? Like my DMs are blowing up from that. Where was it? From the Metamorphosis was probably the start of it. Yeah, there. Metamorphosis was the start of when I started getting noticed, I would say, right? It was like I was starting to get some engagement in the DMs. This one was a big one as well. That gave me a lot of DMs on the back of that. Again, it was just something that channeled out of me in the moment. I'm realizing I'm taking quite a long time on here, so I'll just kind of fly up a bit. Okay, so started changing the graphics for when I went live with people, really bringing the brand to life, right? You can just see the difference from when it very first started. I mean, I'm just obsessed, honestly. Sometimes I just look at my grid and I'm just like, oh, fucking great. Recently I've been playing more with the golds, right? With like this whole millennial angle, which I'm really loving as well. And a bit of the purple. Branding is not like you can only have 3 colors and that's, you know, what it is. Branding is a lot deeper than that. And there we go. There's today. I haven't done that one yet. So, right, let me stop sharing a minute. Okay, so what I want you to get from that is that branding and how you show up on Instagram is an evolution. Okay, it is an evolution. You are going to make shit that you look back at maybe even the next day and you don't resonate with, and that is absolutely okay. That is part of the process. That is how we learn. That is how we get better. That is how we improve. The thing is to just start, to just do it, to just start playing, because that's how you get better. You're not going to be perfect straight away. Now, personally, in my opinion, and as with everything, use your discernment, right? In my opinion, your content should not be outsourced. I said it. Your content should not be outsourced. Now, I am absolutely all for having VAs, having employees, having people to help you, but your content is like your storefront, right? If your business is online, this is your storefront. And in the day, in this day and age, personal branding is one of the most important factors that will bring people into your world. It is your USP. It is you. And no one else can mimic that. No one else can tap into your energy and create something that sounds like you. It's just impossible. So especially in the beginning, as you are building up your audience and you are building up your authority and you are building up your presence in your industry, get good at content. Figure it out along the way, because that's how you're going to get better at it. But you have to just go in, right? Just go in. Now, I won't go into like all of the messaging and that kind of stuff on this masterclass, but the messaging is just about taking people on a journey. Take them on a journey with whatever your message is in that post. Speak your truth in that moment. Sometimes I'll just like speak, right? To like do the voice to text kind of thing. And I'll just say literally what is on my mind, what I'm wanting to tell people. Because that is the essence of you. One thing I will say, and my mentor taught me this, is to create your content as if your audience were paying you for it. You do not gatekeep, okay? Do not gatekeep anything. Over deliver on the low ticket and the free stuff, i.e., we're here for 3 days, right? Over deliver on the free stuff and the low ticket, because this brings people into your world. This is where people get to taste you and decide if they like you or not before they have to invest. So give them as much of you as possible, because they'll either love you or they won't. But either way, that's great. Because that's what it needs to be, right? It's never going to be a meh. That's what you don't want. And it will be a meh if you don't show up in your full energy. So never hold that back. So yeah, with the messaging, just speak your truth. Just speak your truth. I will go more into that, obviously, if people do like one-to-ones and stuff, but like for this masterclass, you can look on my grid, read some of my like actual messaging in the content, and you can see how I talk, right? There's no right or wrong with that. Just be in your power. Don't dim around your words. If you want to swear, swear. If you don't want to swear, don't swear. If you want to call it out to people, do. It's all about you, right? It's all about you and what you want to say and how you want to say it. There's no right or wrong. Okay, so a couple things that I just want to go through. That took me a lot longer than I thought it would. So mix styles, use your reels and your carousels. I see a few messages, so I'll go through Q&As at the end. So go through, so mix styles, carousels, standalones, and reels, okay? And with reels, again, if you are building a personal brand, which I assume most of you here will be, I don't think I've got any product-based ladies in the vicinity. So if you are building a personal brand, talk. Share your voice on reels, right? 60 seconds, share a message, mix it up, because again, that's how people see your energy. That's how people see you, who you are. So make sure that you do those talky videos, not just on your stories, on the reels as well. Okay, the story, we touched on this yesterday. always standing on the story and not in it. Okay, so always sharing from a place of power and not a place of victim. Absolutely be vulnerable. Absolutely share your truth. I will just see if I can show you. It's very hard because the reels have covers and I never know what one it is. I'll just see if I can find it. If I can't, I won't worry. No, I don't know. Anyway, there was one where I was like crying, right? And I do share that a few times. But I'm not in victim mode when I'm sharing that. I'm sharing it because it is my truth. Because expansion is fucking hard. And there are days when we struggle because we're human. The more you share that from a place of power and empathy, and showing your audience that that is okay and it's part of the process, and it doesn't mean that they're not going to be okay tomorrow and they're not going to get back up. And also it doesn't mean that they shouldn't share that day because they're in a low frequency. Even more reason to share, because it shows others that you are human. It gives them that human connection, and that is what you need. You need that human connection, because people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. They need to resonate with you on that deeper level. Okay, this has been actually really important for me. Music. Now, I don't generally use trending sounds. Controversial, I know. I actually use music that I like. And quite a lot of it is like from my 90s, right? Because it's quite funny, because I feel like a lot of me and my brand is tapping back into who I was in the 90s, right? Like the young Claire, the kind of teenage, was I a teenager? No, like young Claire, like just coming up to a teenager. And I feel like I've brought her back. I've got rid of all the crap that happened in between, and I've brought her back. And so I tap into the music that I liked, you know, through those teen years, and I bring that into my messaging, and I bring her spirit into my messaging. And that works really well for me. I get a lot of DMs because, and right, when I say I'm getting DMs, it's not always like, how can I work with you? It's conversations. Because every sale starts with a conversation, yeah? Like, this is a relationship. You have to build that relationship. It's not like a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. We have to like date first. We have to get to know each other first. We have to see if we're a right fit first, yeah? Before we go for the test drive. So DMs are conversation starters. And you want conversation starters with your dream clients, yeah? And you want your dream clients to be people that you're going to like, because you don't want to work with people that you don't like. So by using things that you like, you're going to attract people that also like that. Yeah? So if you're just using like trending sounds all the time and you don't actually even like that music, then you're just going to be attracting people that actually you might not click with. I'm not saying everyone, but it's just like another kind of tool that for me has been really amazing, because I just have so many conversations, like the millennial thing, so many conversations in the DMs with people talking about like random shit from the 90s and the early noughties. And that leads to relationships, and relationships lead to sales. So think about what you're creating, and then think about what you actually like to listen to. What ties in with the message? Always make it tie in with a message. Always. Like whether it's the energy behind it, whether it's like an edgier kind of look, whether it's soft and gentle, whatever it is, always make sure that it ties in. Like quite often, I'll pick songs that maybe either have like the keywords, or it's like that kind of edgy, rockier vibe, or sometimes a bit like Sean Paul. But whatever, you know, whatever it is for you, bring in you. This is more of you, right? People are going to go to your grid and they're going to listen to all these vibes. I swear to God, I was scrolling mine earlier for this, and I was like, oh my God, it's like a whole playlist here. It was great. I just loved it. And that's what you want people to do on your page, right? Scroll it and be like, yeah, like whatever that is for you. It could be country music, could be R&B, like whatever. Tap into it. That's really, really like a great one. Okay. And then the last one I'm going to say before I just go into the last bit is creating before you consume. Okay. No creating after you've been scrolling, please. You need to create from that space of pleasure. Okay. Ideally, you should only create when you've just like finished doing something that you love. And that could even be like having a nap, right? Like I did earlier. Like it's just like, but coming from a place of not being immersed in other people's frequencies and really being tapped into your own. Okay. So you should really ideally try and only create when you've been switched off from online, when you've just been doing whatever, school run, cooking dinner, having a bath, having a massage, literally anything else but unplugged. Because then you know it's yours. And it's not just something that you've seen someone else do and you're like, okay, I'll try and do that. They will always be your best posts. Always. Okay. Right. So the last thing I'm going to go into before I go to the Q&A is association, collabs, and positioning. Now, this, I would say, has been one of the biggest shifts for me. Like I said earlier, with my season 1 of my podcast, I was very floozy, right? I was like strutting my stuff everywhere, as in I would literally let anyone come and guest on my podcast. Anyone ask me, I'm like, fuck yeah, come on. Your first ever podcast, come on. Like, and I don't mean any disrespect to these people, but I was actually disrespecting my brand and my level of authority in the industry by doing that. Because it dilutes your position. And whether you like it or not, people will associate you with who you position yourself with, okay? They absolutely will. That's just psychology. So when you're positioning yourself and letting anyone into your collaboration space, other people will see that and they will associate you with that level, whatever that might be. So when I came into this new space, I think there were a few weeks and then I stopped the podcast for a little bit. I was like, I'm just not feeling this anymore. Like I need to take a pause and figure out what I'm going to do here. And I can't remember how long it was, but I took, I don't know, a few weeks out or whatever. And then I felt like, okay, I'm going to start a season 2, but I am going to be really strategic with my podcast now, that S word. And this is where strategy came in for me. I actively sought out the kind of people that I wanted on my podcast. And I sought out people who I saw as industry leaders. I'm not talking about the number of their followers. I'm not talking about how much money they make. I'm talking about I perceive them from their energy and from what they bring to the table that they are an industry leader. That's not something anyone can tell you. You just have to feel into that yourself, right? And so I sought these people out, and to my surprise, I have to say, I did not get turned down once. Everyone that I reached out to was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And it took me a couple of those people to say that for me to kind of really notice that something had changed. And I had to, again, lean into my mentor, and I was like, Nick, I don't know what's happening. Like, these 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs are like saying yes to coming on my like brand new season 2 podcast. They don't even know me. I've got like a new Instagram. And she's like, yeah. Yeah. Why are you surprised? Like, look at you. And that was an aha moment for me because I hadn't quite fully realized the different energy that I was bringing to the table. And that really validated it for me. I was just like, fuck. These people see me as an equal. They see me as an equal. Industry leaders like the ones that I have on the podcast do not just go on any old podcast because, again, they're very protective of their brand, right? And their level of leadership and their authority position. When you're playing at this level, you do have to think about association. And so that really blew me away, but it also gave me the confidence boost that I really needed to lean into in that moment. And from then, it was like, there was no stopping me. I was just on, like, I don't even know, like a rocket ship, right? From that moment of when I started the new podcast and I had the first couple of guests say yes, not even recorded them, but they were like, yeah. And then we would get chatting. And then it was like, oh my God, we should like definitely meet, and like, there's something that's going to happen here. And I tagged a few of the women actually in my post earlier. It's like, I would have pedestaled the fuck out of these women before. And now, not only do I see them as an equal, but they see me as an equal. And that was just mind-blowing for me. And it really just gave me that confidence that I was where I should be, because like attracts like. And that was just like a massive, like, boom moment for me. So collaborating and associating yourself with other people that you want to be seen the same as. I'm not going to tell you what that looks like for you, but other people that you want to be seen the same way as how they are positioned, how others look at their level of authority in the industry. And that was probably my biggest thing that changed the game for me. And going, like, that wasn't just a podcast as well, that was going live. With going live, I'm a little bit more open, because it's a different kind of positioning. So I generally will go live as long as I connect, right? As long as I connect with someone who's on my level, we have the same kind of values. I know that we're going to vibe together. I know, Rochelle, you're here, like, we've gone live together. That is a bit different. And I would always say, go live with as many people as you can, again, that you respect and that you vibe and that you connect with, because it gets you out in front of more people. It gets you in front of someone else's audience who you might not, they might not have even found you before, right? So that was a massive, massive shift for me. And those are basically the things that I implemented, right? The actual kind of rubber on the road, as it were. And I'm just trying to find where the chat button is because I can't see it. Where is my chat button? Right, hold on. Okay, I got it. Okay, right. Okay, 34 messages. Right. Okay, so I'm going to go through a bit of the Q&A to see what anyone has got here. So if there is a disconnect because of limiting beliefs, how do you overcome that? Say I don't talk like them, but I'd like to be like them. Crystal, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because I'm not 100% sure what that means. Right, before I do the Q&A, actually, just because I know we're on the hour, I am going to talk about the special offer for you guys, okay? So I want to reiterate that I know every single person here has made time to get here live, okay? And I know that life is lifing and that it ain't always easy, and that we got holidays booked and we've got clients booked, and you know, that takes time out of your diary, out of your schedule. And I appreciate that, because it's that action. I say this all the time, I know, but it's that action that will change the game for you, because you are showing up for you. You're not just signing up to free shit and not even bothering to go. Like, you're actually doing stuff on the back of it. So with that being said, I am going to open up some spaces for 1 week intensive with me, which is a 1 hour one-to-one and 24/7, not if you like message me at midnight, but like 7 days of Telegram support on the back of it to implement anything that we've gone through here, or anything that I focus on, right? Which is identity, branding, and leadership. So my focus is all about who you become in my space. These 3 days have shown you what I bring to the table, okay? They've shown you the kind of energy that you will be in. This is who I am. It's not going to change for anyone. This is it. Marmite, like it or hate it, it's up to you. But this is what I will bring. So the question to you would be, who could you become with me by your side? And that's for you to answer. So the week intensive is normally $597, and I'm going to be offering it for $397 for everyone on this live and anyone watching the replay in the next 24 hours. So it will expire at 8 p.m. GMT Saturday night. If you guys are watching this like and it's gone March, then you've missed it. I'm sorry. But for everyone live and that has been part of the Iconic as Fuck live experience, that offer will be for you. So you have 24 hours. It's there. I only have a few slots available. I do not open this up all the time. Okay, so it's there for you guys to go through anything that we've talked about in the week or any of those other areas that you would like me to help you with. Okay, and it's like I said, it's about who you can be in my space. Okay, so I am going to fly through some Q&As because I know we've gone over. So you said to collaborate with women who we want to be like or be known to associate with. Oh, okay. So Crystal, is there a disconnect because of limiting beliefs? How do you overcome that? I don't talk like that, but I'd like to be like them. So Crystal, no, I would just say if you're vibing with someone, if there's someone in your space that you feel like, I love them, then collab with them. Like, I'm not quite sure like where you think where there might be a block there, but if you are vibing with them and they're an industry leader, there's not going to be any limiting beliefs on their part, I wouldn't have thought. So if there is on your part, know your fucking worth, queen. And what I would say is own that. When you engage with them, own that. You need to go in with future embodiment in that moment, okay? Future embodiment always. Okay, so 2 lives today. Yes, girl. What if you haven't established a brand yet? Okay, so BB, if you haven't established a brand yet, I would just say to start showing up with whatever's going on for you, right? So I know obviously you're creating a summit at the moment. Start talking about that, but in a personal brand way. Because if you don't really maybe know what the big picture of that is yet, or it isn't quite stretched out, just start sharing your journey. Start sharing what is going on behind the scenes, because you have got some amazing women, including myself, who are going to be talking on your stage. So start sharing about that. Start tagging them. Go live with them. But start showing up so that other people can build that anticipation as well. So then when you do officially launch it, you've already got a warm audience because you've been building them up in the back end, as it were. I have photos of myself, but I keep using the same ones. And also, on that note, Rochelle, repetition is brand awareness, okay? So we might get bored of shit, but we see it a lot more than anyone else does. So just remember that when you feel like I cannot talk about this topic again for like the 5th time this week, your audience might have only even seen it once, if not at all. So just remember that repetition is part of brand awareness. The idea of having fun, oh my God, yes. And it helps boost your confidence, right? It's a future embodiment experience in its own right. Okay, so let me just check if there's any other Q&As, or if anyone has one now. I'll just see if there's any to pop on. I can just see from beginning to today, yeah. In the carousels, are you doing embodiment content mainly? So no, I mix it up, right? I mix it up. So sometimes I will do my past story and I'll talk about the past and the journey and what has happened. Other times it will be the future embodiment. A lot of times I'm in the present as well. I'm just talking about what is real for me in this very moment. Like today's was just a present download that channeled through me. So I just really go, again, I'm not strategic about what I'm creating when. I just create with what comes to me in any one moment. Okay, so let me just check if there are any others. Red is a sexy color. We never talk about our money, success, or client success. No, absolutely, you can. I'm not saying you can't, and I do sometimes, but I specifically don't want to attract women that are drawn to that, right? Because I want to go deeper than that. I want the women who are already making the money. So the money is not necessarily a big thing for them. Yes, we all want more, but like it's not, they're not kind of in that desperation energy, right? It's they know that embodiment work, they know that confidence, they know that branding, they know that identity is a huge part of their shift. So if you want to talk about money and absolutely client successes, go for it. Just use your discernment as to what sits right for you. For me, I like to talk so much about my own journey because that is the most potent thing for me because of the transformation that I have been on. So do you, right? Do what feels good for you. Okay, so let me just check any new ones. Great perspective. So the music, Helen, is on Instagram. It's on Instagram. When you make a reel, you just go to audio and you can just type in like Britney Spears and it will just come up, right? So it's all there already. Okay, so I think that is everything. I'm doing personal content, but I always thought I need more structure. Yeah, I mean, BB, like I said, if you want to touch base about the one-to-one intensive, that's absolutely stuff we can work on. But otherwise, that is the final day of Iconic as Fuck. And I, again, want to tell you all that you are all freaking iconic, okay? You have all showed up for yourselves. You have all been here. You are all moving the needle. You are all taking action. There is just not going to be any stopping you as long as you continue to move. Oh, I have a question above. Oh, I can't see it. Hold on. Oh, what kind of service would you offer in your intensive? Like, what would you do with the women who opt in for it? Can you give some examples? What you see happening? Minerva, do you mean the intensive I'm offering next week, or do you mean something that you want to offer? If it's what I'm offering, so this is bespoke, right? This is bespoke for whatever you guys want to navigate through. That's what I do. It's not like a one size fits all. It's just like, what do you want to work on? Identity, branding, leadership, the stuff involved in that, the confidence, the tapping into that too much energy, the conversations, right? And who you become with those insights. That's my world. But if I got that wrong, I am sorry. You are a rock star. Amazing. So thank you so much, guys. 24 hours for the exclusive offer for you guys, 597 to 397. And otherwise, I will see you all on socials. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Much love.